The first 2 episodes, I was in and out. Like, it wasn't popping to me. The third episode is when they started talking about Carol Baskins, right?
So wait,
killing her husband.
Episode was slow for me. Second episode on, I was in a little bit earlier because they started the second episode with somebody getting their arm eaten off. And that wasn't even the wildest part. The wildest part was that the victim of that, she chose to have her arm amputated so as to keep things positive back at the zoo.
Fam, what is wrong? That's the dedication that these people have to Joe Exotic and everybody else and the animals is crazy. Think about it. She was like, yo, you'll be able to have your arm, but it's going to take a couple years to get it fully functional. And she said, cut that joint off. And she was back to work in like a week, was it? 2 weeks?
The other guy lost his legs.
Both legs
and his feet. Both legs, yeah. Because he said he was walking 20 miles a day and didn't blame it on anything. He just respected his own dedication to the cause.
Carol Baskins, right? So, of course, it's her versus Joe Exotic. Carol Baskins is acting like she is the righteous one. Like, she is the one who wants the best for these animals, doesn't think they should be bred. But at the same time, she was with a man who was breeding tigers. So in the third episode, they go through a story of her and her husband disappearing, and Joe Exotic harping on that, trying to get her to go to jail, and the possibility of her feeding her husband to tigers. Now, this is when I was like, wait a minute. What the hell is going on? Like, this is
he had a couple different theories on how he believed she killed her husband. Remember? Like, he had a couple theories. The meat grinder was one, and then the sewer underneath the house was another. He was just going with whatever.
Listen, and then the whole storyline of how they explain how he was supposed to disappear, right? So they were basically saying, okay, he wanted a divorce.
Right.
They were fighting over the situation with the zoo. He wanted a divorce, and he made all types of plans before this alleged trip to make sure that people knew what was going on. Like, he went and wrote out a will. He gave I think it was his attorney, a letter saying, if anything happens to me, here's what's going on. Like, for me, it seemed like all the evidence in the world pointed to Carol, but the police kept saying, we ain't got no evidence.
Well, because there was no body or blood or anything. There was just a car. And also, call me gullible, but everybody was also saying that he had a girlfriend in Costa Rica. He had wanted to move to Costa Rica. He was trying to move the whole facility to Costa Rica, and he flew planes. He happened to, it's just there were so many facts or things that came from other people. I know at one point I was like, did he just leave? They were saying he had money hidden everywhere. Did he just take his money and fly to Costa Rica to live his new life with a woman he loved?
No way.
Okay. I was like, that is very possible. And then the will part was a little weird. The disappearance line in the will, I admit that was weird. It's good. I don't know if I can be like, somebody fed a human being to type. She
stole the will. She stole the 2 wills.
Was it stolen if it was her husband's?
Yeah. Come on. Yes. Because she had to break into an attorney's office to get the will.
She didn't break into his office, which is now her office if he's gone. She just happened to not have the key. It's like if you lock yourself out of your apartment, you have to break in, but it's still your, you know what I'm saying?
But it was the attorney's like stuff. It was her.
No, that was his
office
assistant. That was his
assistant, whoever it was.
Yeah.
So and then all of a sudden you can't produce that will. Come on, fam.
Right, they found a new will, right? That said,
The new will with the disappearing act.
yeah.
There's
I
no
mean,
doubt she did it.
Joe also was like wildly signing away rights to things willy-nilly without like either fully understanding it or hoping that somehow that was a fascinating part of all of this, that like he thought in any way like signing away rights or ownership or anything without a clear understanding of what you are immediately getting in return.
Well, I see
He
why he
thought
did
that
it,
was
though.
going to end well
I
multiple
see
times.
why he did it, because Carol was going after him, trying to sue him for everything he has. So he was like, yo, if I put it in other people's names, I can still have it, but she can't get it from me. The problem
But
is
then
you
there
got to
has
trust
to be
those
the
people.
thought of, I'm giving this to someone else in hopes of not having to give it to her. How are you going to get it back from this person?
That's the problem. You got to trust people.
And he did it so much with his like husbands that, because was he legally married to either of those guys? I'm not sure.
I think so.
But he did it. He was legally married to the third guy at the end, right? But he did it so much with them that when Jeff came in, I think he was just like, this is my process. This is how I'm gonna hide this. And it was like, oh, Jeff stole the zoo. Did he steal it, or was it given to him?
Exactly. Like he just gave away his stuff. Again, that's like if somebody's married, like, and they're getting a divorce, they may put some stuff in their brother's name. So it'd be like, all right, I put it in my brother's name. I put it in a family member's name. So you can't get that from me. So when it's all
right,
over,
and when the
I
brother
can get
runs
that
off
back.
with it, that's what you get. The little slimy things. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what you get. He lost that lawsuit fair and square, and he had multiple opportunities to just shut up, and he just could not let it go. She has disposable income.
Fam, why? Like, never try to take big bank like that. Like, why did you keep going after this woman, knowing she got all the money in the world to crush you, and knowing you doing dirt? You
just
dead
wild
wrong.
stuff. Just wild stuff. Joe did so many wild things. Like, was he using zoo funds to fund his campaign?
Yes, that's what him and Jeff got in an argument about.
Right, and then like signing somebody else's name to checks. All the while, so like doing all of this on camera. That's the most fascinating part of all of this, is that he wasn't even really trying to hide anything. He just was so addicted to the attention. In the end, I think Joe was done so dirty in the end that, you know how...
You think Joe was done dirty?
In the end, yeah, I do. You know how people talk about OJ, right? You know how like the general consensus of people is that they don't care how excessive the sentencing was at the trial that actually put him behind bars, which it was unnecessarily excessive, absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
But people generally don't care because they feel like he deserved that from the first trial.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I feel about Joe in the end. I'm not sure how much honesty was happening in a federal courtroom. That was fascinating towards the end. And I'm not sure if that is fair just because he was a bad guy. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
I know, I understand what you're saying, especially from the OJ aspect, but I felt like he was guilty of everything, so I didn't care. Like, yo, everything they're accusing you of, you're guilty of.
Do you think that guy was paid $3,000 to go and kill Carol?
1,000%. 1,000%, because...
Okay, so that felt like a story to me.
Because everyone talked about, he constantly talked about killing her. Constantly talked about killing her. So I can see him saying, yo, if you serious, I'm serious. I'm joking if you're joking. Like one of those things, like, listen, I'm playing, and who's that? Nelly? I'm playing unless you're gonna do it.
Weird. The guy who said he did it, Alan, who also, can we just take a brief moment to just talk about the one-on-one interviews that they did with these people? If they weren't at the zoo, how weird a lot of them were. Like Joe's first ex-husband was half naked the whole time.
Oh yeah, I'm like, why is your shirt off? Why does
The
this?
former manager fell asleep mid-interview at the very end, the one with the long hair.
Yeah.
Alan, the supposed hitman, just got in a bathtub with like a big gulp or something. Like it just was really weird. But when he was talking about, like when he was hired to take someone out, he was like, I guess I got there and I changed my mind, or I got spooked, or I forgot and I ended up in South Carolina partying. What?
Yo, they all on drugs.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's what I think. I think he was just like, yo, I hate this dude. He just gave me a check. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'm not. I'm on meth. I'm gonna party. Like Joe talked about killing her way too much for me to feel like he wouldn't actually do it. And on top of that, if you kill her, all the suing goes away. So to him, in his mind, he like, yo, and he may have even said that when he was like drugged up. He may have even done it when he was drugged up and said it. But I still think he did it because there were several people around who said, and I think Jeff was in on it.
Jeff said he was in on it.
Yeah.
But I see something about the story just didn't add up to me. It just felt like, I get what you're saying. He said it. If somebody like says they're going to do it, you can't do much but believe that they actually would do it. But something about like that specific, I wonder if that actually happened.
You trying to make too much sense out of meth heads. Meth heads don't make all that sense, okay? Who did you, I guess, root for? Who do you think is the person that you root for, feel sorry for, and who's the person you hated the most?
Oh, feel sorry for it. There's nobody there. I didn't find it. There weren't really couldn't put a pinpoint on like a good guy. I'm not totally sure that I'm not so sure. I'm still not so convinced that it's not at all, like, you don't think it is at all possible that any of them would make up a story because Jeff was on their nerves.
Oh, you team Joe. That's what you said.
I mean, Joe, yeah, Joe. I'm not team Joe. I'm not saying
Joe.
he was a good guy. I just feel like that specific case. And I'm not a fan of like the idea of like trumping up charges because just so you can make sure you get them on something. That is such a weird overused thing in our like federal like court system. Yuck.
No, you're 100% right.
I don't think Joe should have been shooting tigers. He says he was euthanizing them. How do we know? My homegirl said she thought it was a population control thing and it wasn't really about like a tiger being too sick.
Exactly. If you had the nerve to burn down your own alligators and do all of that, you the bad guy. I gotta see. You feel sorry, Joe. You would have been in Joe's harem.
I wouldn't have had anything to do with any of that. You know, there's a big cultural difference here when it comes to those animals. That wouldn't have had anything to do with that. I don't even know. Do you know how like zoos smell? I could only handle so much of it. There's no way I could live there.
Nah, not too many of us. We didn't see any of us.
There's no way somebody could be like, here, I'm going to pull this baby tiger out of my suitcase. Want to hold it on? I don't want any parts in any of that. I don't want to hold like, I don't want any parts of that.
See, I felt bad for the producer because his life work and $1 million scheme went down the drain. I'm team Carol just because, listen, Joe, you out here shooting and killing everybody. Somebody needs to stop you, and Carol's the one stopping you. So that, felt bad for producer. I'm team Carol. And I think I hated Joe the most.
Okay, so that's where we're ending this. Who do you like the most? And your answer is you feel bad for the producer. Carol's was your favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Who did I like the most? My answer is no.